Just let me know when you're ready. All set. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to the April meeting of the Laconia Zoning Board of Adjustment. And with that, call the roll, please.
Marcia Haywood,
Here.
Jane LaRoche,
Here.
Roland Mayhew,
Here.
Gail Ober,
Here.
Mike Foot,
Here.
I'm
Stephen
here.
Bogart.
Okay. As other Mike Delvecchia is not here at the moment, so Marcy, will you please, and I pronounced that correctly this time?
Marcia.
Marcia. Thank you. Marcia. I apologize.
That's all right, Steve.
So, she'll be the voting member until Mike shows up. If we've already started an application, you will remain as the voting person on that application until such time we've rendered a decision, and then if Mike shows up, he can take over on the next application. Okay.
Understood.
All right. With that, I'd like to ask everybody in the audience, if you got a cell phone, please put it on mute so it doesn't disturb the proceedings of the meeting, and we'll go ahead and get started. Extensions.
Minutes?
Minutes. Thank you. Thank you. We have two sets of minutes, one for January 18th and one for March 21st. We'll discuss January 18th first. Has everybody had a chance?
I still didn't hear you, but.
Sorry for the late, huh?
Okay.
You're recused.
I am.
Since Mike is here now, okay, Mike will be the voting member. So let the records indicate. So, the minutes of January 18th, has everybody had an opportunity to review said minutes? And are there any additions, subtractions, changes? Need a period put somewhere, a comma? There being none, motion to accept the minutes of January 18th as presented.
Motion to accept.
We have a second? Second, Roland. All those in favor? Okay. Now we'll move on to March 21st minutes. Everybody got a chance to review those minutes, and if so, is there any additions, subtractions, periods, commas, deletions, or anything whatsoever? There being none, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Motion to accept.
Second? Second. All those in favor? Okay. So the minutes have been dealt with. Now we can move on to extensions. Okay. First extension, we have two extensions tonight. The first extension is 29 Sweetbriar Way. Request to extend the approval for a variance from Article 5, Section 235-36 and Attachment 3, Table 2, to allow additional lot coverage over the previous approved 20%. Former PUD regulations allow 20% lot coverage. Current regulations allows 40% lot coverage. And as we discuss this, what is the end date on this if it is approved?
6 months.
6 months. So we're looking at like October 18th, somewhere thereabouts.
Yep.
Okay. And then the second one is 29 Sweetbriars is request to extend the approval variance from Article 5, Section 235-36 and Attachment 3, Table 2 to allow additional lot coverage over previous former PUD.
PUD?
Are you on 10 Sweetbriar now, Mr. Chairman?
I'm on, yes. Oh, they're two different
Yeah,
addresses.
look at that.
We're gonna stay on 29 first, because I didn't realize there were two different addresses. I do apologize. So,
No problem.
if the applicant's here for 29 Sweetbriar, please come forward, introduce yourself for the record, and tell us how we may help you.
Mr. Chairman, I would just say that I originally got the variance, but
Please.
I originally appeared before this board to get the original variance. And I have previously extended this one, but I don't know who the owners are now. It's switched hands. And they filed for their own extension. But I do want you to know that I did get this original variance, and I have had it extended in the past. I don't know what their reason is. I don't know them. I just, because the other one's right behind it, I just wanted the board to be aware of that I had a previous connection to this, and, I mean,
But you're not associated with this right now?
no, but they kind of go together. This is the
You're
one.
number 10?
Yeah, this is the one that, it was over 20, and then now it's up to 21.5, and they kind of work together. But there still would be lot coverage for these people, even if they had to come back again. They'd have to go through the same, variance process to do it over again. But anyway, I
Okay.
just wanted to know that, that's what I just wanted you to know.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, staff has talked with the new owner and of course, obviously, they have filed for the extension. I can't speak as to why they're not here tonight, but they have indicated that they plan on construction soon, and so their hope is that this would be the last extension necessary.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, they're not here, right?
they're not here.
Okay.
Can we grant the extension without them being here?
We
can.
as a board can do what we wish, yes.
You know, I'm,
Within the confounds of the regulations of the city of Laconia, but
Yeah.
I think this falls within our privy of if the board wishes to proceed with it, or the board can, wish to hear it next month. I mean, if it's,
I'll make a motion, we hear it next month.
because the paperwork's good and they're covered for it, so, it's not a question of it expiring now, because they've already made said application.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion to continue to next month. We have a second to continue it to the next month. Discussion on continuing it to next month.
It should be here next month,
We'll let them know.
right, other than that,
Yeah,
so that's planned.
so all those in favor of continuing this to next month? Okay, it's continued to next month. Okay, the next one as we move along is 10 Sweetbriar Way, request to extend the approval variance from Article 5, Section 235-36, and Attachment 3, Table 2, to allow additional lot coverage over the previous approved 20% former PUD development regulations, allow 20% lot coverage. Current regulations allow 40% lot coverage. The applicant for number 10, please come forward, introduce yourself for the record, and tell us how we might be of help.
I'm Attorney Phil Brouillard, representing Mr. John Noonan. He's purchased this lot, and he's building a new house. He's got a signed contract with an excavating contractor to start the first week of May 2022. He's been delayed with the restrictions of COVID. He's been delayed by the road bans, and he's been delayed by the contractors, being so busy. This particular notice of action was at the October 18, 2021 meeting. As the board recalls, these two that we just talked about, this particular variance increased to allow lot coverage up to 21.5, keeping in mind the prior one was 20, but now it's 40. So the board heard a lot of testimony on this and understood what we were doing. This is the third request. The notice of action extension was granted until April 30th, 2022. So in this case, we would say that 6 months from October is October 30th, 2022, and we're requesting an extension to that time. And if you want to make it the 18th, that's fine, but it says right in the NOA that it was extended to the 30th, so 6 months from the 30th would be.
The 21st?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
No, I think that it says here, notice, extension granted until April 30th, 2022. So if this extension is granted, since it stops in April 30th, 2022, 6 months from then is October 30th, 2022.
That's fine by me. I just picked the 18th because
Well,
it's
no,
the day of the meeting.
I think I got the last extension, and I think the notice of action may say that, but like I say, I haven't had any contact with these folks, so I don't know.
Sounds like it should be well under construction before then, so,
Yes, they're gonna start the first week of May.
okay. Any questions of the applicant? There being none, I'd like to go ahead and open it up to the public and ask if anybody from the public wishes to speak for or against this application. Please come forward at this time and introduce yourself for the record. Let the record indicate no one from the public wished to speak for or against this application. Therefore, I bring it back to the board. Any questions of the applicant? There being none, closing comments from the applicant.
Thank you for your time this evening.
Very well. I'll close it to the public, bring it to the board for discussion.
Seems straightforward.
Just doing the dance and doing it one more time with a different song.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, nothing is happening on time these days, so.
Same as. With these extensions, it's gonna follow whatever codes are in place at the times and stuff like that, so it's not like we're being held by any old codes or anything like that to this, so. With that being said, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Say we'll do a motion to, accept the variance, to extend the variance for Article 2020190002 for 10 Sweet Briar Way. This will be good until October 30th of 2022.
I'll second that.
We have a second. We did put the date as October 30th. I'm sorry, I missed that.
I don't-
Okay.
yeah.
There being no discussion, all those in favor of the motion to extend? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
You too.
Night, Phil.
Okay, we have no continuations, so we'll move right into public hearings. And we do have a couple for the public hearings. All right. The next application is actually a rehear of, it's a rehearing that has been remanded by the Superior Court back to the zoning board for review of actions or lack of actions that were taken by the board. And so I'm gonna read something real quick. As this application, the application is pertaining to 41-63 Elm Street. And the appeal is from 15 Park Street, the Park Street Trust. And there was questions. What this meeting was a meeting as a, to review the actions of the planning director and the decision that was made with the planning director. And then that was sent back to the board here to make a decision if the planning director had made the right conclusions on a decision. And within ours, the judge made a conclusion, and he summed it up. The ZBA considered the facts and testimony before it and denied 2 of the 3 of the appellate's questions for appeal. The ZBA did not vote on the 3rd question. After a review of the records, the court finds the ZBA's decision for question 1 unreasonable as discussed above. Furthermore, question 2 is moot, and question 3 is remanded back for the ZBA to discuss and vote on. Okay, so what we're here tonight to discuss is whether or not a pylon was considered a structure, and what we're here to discuss is whether or not it should show on the prints, okay, that are being presented to the planning board, okay? Since we didn't discuss that portion, the other 2 questions were already addressed, and so those won't be discussed tonight. So the only thing is the steel sheet pylons should be shown on the site plan. And that's all we need to discuss. So, based on that, does the board think that the pylons should be on the print, since the pylons have been considered a structure?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Were you planning on opening the public hearing?
I will open up a public hearing. I will open this so the public can speak. Okay.
Prior to deliberation?
Yes,
Okay, may I approach?
sure, go right ahead.
I think you have to declare the public hearing open for the record, don't you?
The public hearing is open. I opened it already.
Thank you, Mr. Bogert. What we hear today is about
Would
the
you
rule.
introduce yourself for the record?
Peter Burnett, 15 Park Street, Lakeport.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. We're here today to prove the proposition that at every level in city government, even those of us that serve as volunteers on city boards and commissions, that the rule of law must be applied. That's somewhat easier for those of us that are afflicted with my profession. And I think in this case, I made assertions and I made things in legalese that didn't assist the board in coming to the considerations that they should have, and for that I apologize. But what we're here for tonight, in my opinion, is actually 2 things. The first is you need to reconsider the decision that you made that the determination of the planning director that the steel retaining walls were not a structure was incorrect. You found that it was not incorrect, and I think if you read the order, what Judge O'Neill is saying is this matter is remanded to the zoning board of adjustment for further proceedings in accordance with this order. So the first thing you have to do is you have to find that Mr. Trefethen made an error when he ruled that those steel retaining walls were not a structure, but in fact, a building technique, construction technique. He mooted the second issue because there was never any dispute whatsoever about the fact that that structure, the steel retaining wall, was within the setback. You'll recall the second question was whether the proper setback was 5 or 25. Well, it doesn't matter, it's 2. So it's within the setback. That was not disputed by the city, it could not, it was beyond dispute. The third question really is one I didn't expect the court to do. And the third question is whether or not the planning board properly exercised its discretion under your zoning ordinance. That's where you get, jurisdiction. When it decided to approve incomplete plans. The plans that were presented to the planning board, the plans that were presented to the planning department, all the official plans did not show the retaining walls, which, as the judge ruled, are structures. And the zoning ordinance, which is your purview, requires they be shown on all plans that are submitted and referenced in all reports. So you're actually, I think, being asked whether to return the conditional approvals back to the planning board for further proceedings in accordance with this board and the court's rulings on the issues that I just presented. That's my take on it. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Nope.
Okay. Thank you for letting me be heard.
So, as was mentioned, we're here to discuss the pylons being on the drawings.
Sir, they're not
Okay.
pylons.
Sir, you need to retain yourself. Okay? We're having a meeting,
The
and
public hearing is still open. You never closed
sir,
it.
we do not allow people just to speak from the public. That is not acceptable mannerism in a meeting,
Okay.
okay? You may raise your hand and ask to speak, and then when you're allowed to speak, you can come up and address yourself to the board at that time. But randomly standing up speaking is not an acceptable practice,
I'm sorry.
okay?
Yep.
All right, you may speak.
The word pylon doesn't appear anywhere in the official documents. It's not a pylon. It's a steel wall approximately 90 feet long. Just saying.
With that being said, I'm going to close it to the public and bring it to the board for discussion. Unless the board deems it necessary to ask the question of the public, then we'll open it back up. Other than that, we will have a discussion. Now, the judge had already ruled that it's a structure, so we're not going to discuss what the judge said there. The moot point is, so the only question is, does the structure of these steel sheet pilings belong on the drawings?
Okay, just because Judge O'Neill says they're a structure, it's still a little gray area to me.
But still, with that being
When we get
said, what
plans-
was remanded back to us,
Right.
I'm narrowing this focus down, so the only discussion,
Mr. Chair, can I?
yes,
as your
please,
Legal counsel, can I just address,
please,
do I need to step to the mic?
yes.
Just for the record, Joe Driscoll Mitchell Group, or your legal counsel. I understand your perspective on that, just because, Judge O'Neill said this, what does that mean? That is the law of the case now. So the way these appeals worked was a decision was rendered, an appeal was made to this board. You did not reconsider that. That appeal then goes to the Superior Court. Now it's been remanded back where he's made a specific finding that your decision was unlawful and unreasonable, that these were not structures, meaning that they are structures. So that issue there's no gray around that. And also because of, again, sort of the chain of the legal world here, that was the court of final authority on that. So that is the law at this point. These are considered structures.
And therefore, that is why that's off of the table, and
When somebody gives us a plan, I mean, they show every detail, like parking bumpers in the parking lot to stop you from driving too far. I mean, details are, so whether the steel panels are on the plan or not, I don't see how it makes a difference, because they could have been removed if
that is a part where the planning board itself has to define what is on a drawing and what is not. From what we understand of what the requirements are, is that in this case, this structure of the steel sheet pilings are a structure, and being of that structure, should they belong on the drawing? And if they do belong on the drawing, then if it's that board's decision to say yes, then they should remand it back with updated prints to the planning board so that they can review and do whatever the planning board does. I don't know their process, so.
I'm kind of in the fog as to what the end goal is here. Okay, say the panels are put on the plan. What difference does it make right now?
That's for the planning board to decide.
So I feel like our hands are tied. We have to say, yes, they are a structure and they should have been on the plan. But, I don't know. Roland, help me out.
I agree with you.
When all this was in discussion, it was like, well, if Elm Street wanted to build a wall there instead of the steel panels and leave the wall there, they would have been legal to do so right up against the property line. I know Mr. Burnett was upset about the cherry trees, but if they wanted to put a stone wall, concrete wall up right against the property line, they could have. That's why I tend to lean towards saying, okay, put the steel panels up.
But that's the
And
kind
they
of
can
stuff
be
that would be on
removed
the
if
drawing.
necessary.
But that could be something, a wall or something like
Would
that
have been
would
a
be.
structure.
Would have been a structure, and it would have been on the drawings. So in
So-
this instance, I'm not trying to disagree with you or anything. It's like, if it's a fence, it would have been on there marking it, showing that it's there, so the planning board could review it, okay? In this instance, the question has been answered. It's a structure, okay? So the moot point is the other one, where does it fall on the setback? That's a moot point, okay? So the last one, which we as a board did not address, was, does it belong on the drawing or not? And we based that on the fact that, we said it was a technique and not a thing. A judge has now gave us the correct decision and guidance on that. So now it makes it easy for us to understand that if it should belong on the drawing because it's a structure. See
So-
what I'm saying?
Our hands are tied. We have to say, yes, it should be on the plans. What choice do we have?
I think when we review a lot of the stuff that becomes before us, that we like to see as much detail as possible.
Yeah,
You know, if we didn't have a firm definition of a technique or a structure, now it's been deemed a structure, I would fully expect to see it on a plan.
so that's all I'm saying. How one sees it is up to them individually, but, you know,
Mr. Chair, can I just?
Please.
raise another point? Not trying to commandeer your meeting by any stretch, but just want to make sure everybody's clear. There was 3 specific questions asked that you heard and that the judge subsequently heard. The reason something's remanded back to you was that the 3rd question was never decided. So the judge said, I can't make a determination because there's nothing that can be appealed to me. There wasn't a decision. So what that question was whether the director's determination and the planning board's approval of the application of Paugus Elm 1 LLC were proper, since the steel retaining walls do not appear on the plan submitted or referenced in any notes thereon. So you're making that determination, as the judge has said, these things are structures. So were the decisions along the way proper? You need to render your first decision on that question in this case, whether the director's determination was correct and whether these things, the planning board approval was proper if these things weren't on there. From a practical standpoint, what that means is that, yes, you'd hand this thing back to the planning board saying, you know, because these things are structures, a plan needs to address that fact now. And again, that's really it for you guys at that point. What that
Yep.
yields, what, you know, I mean, that becomes a planning board piece.
so in doing such, that's where emotion's gonna come in for us, and if y'all feel someone feel comfortable making a motion? If not, I'll be happy to make a motion. But,
You can probably word it better than me, Steve, so.
all right. The question before the board was, should the steel sheet piling be shown on the site plan? And the planning director at that point in time, based on the given information to him at that time, was that we felt that we did not need to determine that because it was a non-structure at the time. But since it's now a structure and stuff like that, the board feels that the steel sheet pilings should be on the drawings so that the planning board would have all the information set forth to review the site plan, and that it should be updated and sent back to the planning board for whatever they do. I don't know what the correct word I should say in that point, but for revisiting the site plan, remanding it back to the planning board for their review.
Can I suggest some language possibly?
Yes.
That was, I think, a bit lengthier than what you were looking for in motion.
Okay?
The board could move to overturn the director's interpretation and the planning board's approval as to the sheet pilings in this application. Pursuant to the Belknap County Superior Court order, these pilings are structures and therefore should have been included on the plan. As the court viewed this issue as an appeal per RSA 676.53, the pilings were required to be on the plan, and the plan is, and this issue is remanded back to the planning board.
What he said.
Wasn't that just what you said?
It's word for word, actually. I wrote it down.
He said it a lot nicer, but what he said. We'll make that the motion.
That addresses both considerations in that 3rd question, which was the director's interpretation appropriate, And was the planning board approval appropriate if these things weren't on there? Thus remanding it back to them for review of the plan.
Can I say so moved?
Sure
You
can.
can second it.
Oh, What?
You can second the motion.
Who
You
made
already
the,
made the motion?
who made the motion?
That
Who made the motion?
I adopted your motion.
Okay.
Oh.
The motion you written is what I said use.
Second.
The public hearing's been closed.
I'd just like to be heard in rebuttal then, if your attorney's gonna address the board, I'd like to be heard. Just one point, promise.
It's already been closed, so I'm sorry.
I'm gonna offer it to you then, anyway.
Sir,
I appealed to you a question.
this meeting is adjourned for the moment until we have the thing, so please, it's adjourned, stop.
Go back to Superior Court because you won't listen.
I'm gonna bring us back to order now, and I would like to make a motion, we adjourn for our private session with our attorney.
It's a
For about-
non-meeting.
What?
Non-meeting pursuant to 91A.
Yeah, what he said. In the minutes. So,
Do we do this with an audience?
Yes.
we go in the back room?
Can we
or-
let these people come up first?
No. We gotta finish what we're doing,
All right.
because we're in the middle of a thing. So, and then we go back there.
Yep.
So a motion for a
I see.
10-minute adjournment for a non-meeting,
Non-public.
non-public meeting,
Non-meeting, not a non-public.
non-meeting. What he said. Okay,
Need a second?
second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Let the record indicate. I know, you're opposed. 4-1, it passes. We're gonna reopen the meeting, and we were discussing the motion. We had a motion on the table. And I was seeking a second of the motion that was on the table.
I'll second that.
And then if we got a second, now we can have further discussion of that motion.
Could you read the motion back to us, please, McKenzie?
You're referring to the motion that Joe said?
Absolutely.
Okay, I don't have all of that written down.
Okay, that needs to
He
actually
can
be
read,
done.
That's gotta go in verbatim,
Yeah.
no matter what, so.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
get it.
that has
Yeah.
got to be done verbatim.
I also write it down too, so I can just hand you the paper. So what I had said previously is you move to overturn the director's interpretation and the planning board's approval as to the sheet pilings. This Belknap County Superior Court order states that these pilings are structures, and therefore they should have been included on the site plan. As the court viewed this issue as an appeal per RSA 676.5.3, the pilings were required to be on the plan, therefore this matter is to be remanded to the planning board on this issue.
And that was my motion. And so,
And you seconded it
I
then?
and
did.
it was seconded. So, do we have any discussion of that motion?
No.
There being no discussion of that motion, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes 5-0. Thank y'all, everybody.
Thanks, Joe. Nice seeing you again.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. And one more. After all that excitement, we can move to the next. Next thing on the,
Still talking to myself, go.
oh, that's fine, is application 2022-0016 variance. 5 Parsonage Drive, a variance request from Article 6, Section 235-35B, front setback to allow for the construction of a farm report that would encroach into the front setback.
Excuse me, Mr. You're all done with me, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, have a good night.
Thank you for your presence. And we have a second variance. The only reason I'm gonna open it up and read both of them is because I assume they're gonna oh, they're two different,
Yeah, they're two different things.
oh, these two different addresses are just killing me. Okay, that's twice
Details,
tonight.
brother, details.
Twice tonight I did that one. Okay, would the applicant for, application for 5 Parsonage Drive, please come forward and introduce yourself for the record and tell us how we can help you.
My name's Elizabeth Brothers,
I'm Daniel Brothers.
and we just,
Welcome.
thank you. Yeah, we want to put a farmer's porch on the front of their house, just for, privacy issues, because we're on the corner lot, and as people drive by, we have no privacy in front of our house. We don't feel comfortable sitting in our front yard, and don't really have the means to, and aesthetically, it makes sense. Over the years, we've improved the property. Our neighbors are constantly stopping by, and even the previous owners of the house have stopped by and commented about the improvements we've made to the property, and it's always been a dream of ours just to have a farmer's porch and enjoy being outside, and with the traffic, it's hard to do that.
Weren't you here a couple of months ago? When-
Couple
Pine Pine,
months
that's
or
the
a
first-
couple
That's the
years.
first house on the right when you go into,
Yeah, we, I think it was last year or the year before, we had gotten, built a steel garage in the
Yeah, we got a
back.
variance for a steel garage.
oh,
back. Yeah,
I thought,
we just kinda missed you guys, so. we put it back in.
Thank you for your patience.
Not a problem.
will this porch be screened in, or?
No, it's just gonna be an open porch,
Like a farmer's porch?
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, will it have a roof over it?
yeah,
yeah.
And the front setback there is 75 feet?
I think so, yeah.
Is that,
And it's a corner lot, so it has 2 front setbacks.
and it has
I
2 front
believe.
setbacks, and you're building it in the narrow sides front setback,
Yeah, facing Parsonage Drive.
facing Parsonage
Yeah.
Drive, okay, that's,
Yeah, it's
all right,
coming
that's
8
where I'm
feet
looking
off.
at this, I'm trying to get my
Should be
bearings.
right
Yeah,
there.
I saw that, but
20 miles an hour by 75.
Parsons Drive.
Right, it is.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
And so what would be left for
Right,
the
yeah,
setback?
about 6.
Is it 30, I've seen 36 feet, but is that the width of the porch, or
That's the
how
width.
much of the setback is left after
The
this?
width of the porch is 8 feet. I don't have,
Way down.
I don't have that in front
So
of me
it'd be
right now.
about
67
Eight,
feet,
36.
feet, probably.
67 feet would,
Yeah.
approximately
That's what it
67 feet would be left of that setback.
Well, yeah, if the house was already within the setback requirements before it was built, we don't know that.
Oh, that's
You
true.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm just looking at that line and you're correct.
I have no
That
idea.
whole house is
It
in-
would be from the front property line, not from the pavement, but from the front property line would be approximately 40 feet.
About 40 feet?
Yeah.
And he's just
I mean,
looking
the
at.
front of, the front of the house now is approximately 50,
It's
so,
approximately 50, so it's non-conforming already.
right,
So we're adding to the non-conformity, is
Correct.
what I'm understanding.
correct.
Because the house is already non-conforming. And we are adding to the non-conformity by allowing them to go 8 feet closer to the front, the parsonage front setback, leaving approximately 40 feet from, the setback is measured from the city right away, correct? Not from the pavement,
Correct.
Right.
Right.
okay?
Do we have any other questions?
I don't have any other questions of the applicant, I wanted that clarified, and if the planning director was able to clarify that, I wanted to know what was left, or whether you were in it already.
Okay. Any other questions at this moment? You'll get a second opportunity to think about it, so. Okay, y'all can sit for a second. I'd like to open it up to the public and ask if anybody from the public wishes to speak for or against this application. Please come forward at this time. Introduce yourself for the record. Let the record indicate no one from the public wishes to speak for or against this application. I bring it back to the board for any further questions of the applicant.
I have none. I remember this drawing.
There being no further questions, any closing comments from the applicant? You got one?
I do.
Very good.
There you go, looking
I
at
love
the
it.
pictures. Now, is this farm porch going to be at the level of the first level? Or all the way up to the, covering over from the second story also? How's that roof line?
And please come up to the microphone.
It's just basically gonna be like 2 stairs up. It's not gonna be, we have a porch right now. It's not gonna be any higher than that porch.
I
or
think
the
he's
foundation level.
referencing
He's talking about the ceiling. The
ceiling.
ceiling's gonna,
Oh,
I mean, the roof is
sorry.
gonna be where the house steps out. It's below the second floor windows.
That's the answer?
Yeah.
Yep.
And only to know the answer.
Right.
The roof is gonna be in line with the lower portion of the upper
Yes.
story,
Yeah,
not the upper portion of the second story.
right, exactly, yeah.
Right.
Does that make
sorry.
sense, Mike?
Yep, I'm buying into the program.
That would be very ugly. If it did go in the top.
We won't disagree with that, but it won't be the first time we had. So, all right, any other questions of the applicant?
Not regarding this particular request.
Okay. Any closing comments? Close it to the public, bring it to the board for discussion.
You know, I think really what I see here as a hardship is, once again, it's a corner lot and there's 2 75-foot setbacks on it. I think it's reasonable in the shape of the house to have the protection over the front door instead of just direct exposure.
Well, I think the fact also that 3/4 of the house is already in that setback.
Right.
So the hardship there is, no matter what they did, was it's gonna be in a setback. The house is already,
And you're looking at
Non-conforming.
288 square feet, you're bringing it out only 8 feet.
yeah.
And it's not out onto the main highway.
I'm sorry. I don't know why, I'm really just tired. Maybe it's warm in here, I don't know.
It's an adrenaline down.
Oh, good Lord. I've had more adrenaline watching a roller coaster.
Me too, and I live on it.
Any other discussion?
It's called being annoyed more than it is anything.
There being none, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Hey, I'd like to make a motion to accept application number 2020-0016, looking for relief from 235-35A front setback to put an 8 by 36 foot porch on one of the extra front sides of the house. I think, where's my stuff? I think it would not be contrary to the public interest and it will, add to the value of the house, which covers number 2 also. And certainly, in an RR2 neighborhood, one would imagine a farmer's porch would be one of the things you would have. The variance, the values that are surrounding properties would not be diminished. The hardship being that the current house is already significantly into the setbacks, which came after the building of the house in the mid-80s. And I think it's a reasonable use to allow people to have access to an area outside the house and enjoy the sunsets up there.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Discussion of the motion. There being none, all those in favor of the motion? Roland? Are you in favor? Gail?
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, I put my hand up.
Okay. Passes 5-0. Enjoy your farmer's porch.
Thank you very much. I was gonna find a way to pay for it.
You got a corner lot, you're right on the main road.
That's not our problem.
Their shed has to be there.
Okay.
Entertaining Monday night, I've had in a long time.
It doesn't normally, well,
Especially when you.
it doesn't happen that often, so we apologize for all the,
I mean, what about the
There's
poor
always
neighbors?
room on the board if
The
you really
Celtics
like
finish
it.
last night was
We're not
exciting.
voting, so.
yes, it was, yes, it was.
That was a great
What was that,
basketball
about a
game.
tenth of a second?
Oh, man, that was a great basketball game.
Me either.
Okay,
Other part
the
of
next
Hazel.
application. The next application,
It's unrepresented.
2022-0018, variance is 164 Pogus Park Road, a variance request from Article 6, Section 235-35B, side setback to allow for the construction of a shed. And if the applicant is here, please come forward at this time, introduce yourself for the record. Let the record indicate no one from the applicant was not present, and I entertain thoughts from the board of what the wishes of the board are at this moment.
I'll make a motion that we defer this to our, what is it, May meeting? May 18th, you think?
Yep.
17th?
Oh, you're awful nice.
17th.
No, it's Tuesday, the 18th, isn't it?
Tuesday
Oh,
is the
no, Tuesday, the
17th.
17th, yeah. You're right.
My modes.
The 17th.
No.
But I
So we have a motion,
understand
do we
why
have a
they-
second?
Yes, seconded.
We have a second. Discussion, there being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye.
No, Bill
You're
told me
shaking your
that
head no?
I'm shaking my head no.
in my house.
Okay, so
He
it
says, "I hope
passes
you
4-1. Thank you for shaking your
Bill
head.
said, I hope you don't have a problem yet.
Okay, other business. No word on our,
No, I checked this, just before we got here. Have nothing? What is their mandate, 90 days?
I have no idea.
Oh, it's in law. It's in the ordinance.
I don't know.
No, I checked earlier before we came here, and there's nothing new.
anything else, any other business before the board? There being none, motion to,
Return the pen, her pen.
Other than I was gonna say, I think for the next 2 months, we go to Tuesdays, is that correct, Dean?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, our June meetings, is that on your schedule, or do we have to?
May and June.
May and June, we go to
June is
Tuesdays.
Tuesday 21st and May 17th is a Tuesday.
Is it, okay, all right, I just wanted to make sure that was on our official schedule.
It's there.
Second that motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
Yeah, then shake my.
I'm gonna return this. Run away.